Okay, let's get started. So today I'm just having some fun this afternoon. I'm getting reacquainted with X-Plane. Like some of you, I have been maybe a little bit disappointed with the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 rollout. I don't have anything against the Asobo. I think they're great. I find Microsoft Flight Simulator to be inspiring. I love Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. And I ordered 2024 as almost as soon as it came out and went through a little bit of a honeymoon stage, then started experiencing crashes. Then that kind of resolved. And then I got kind of this overwhelming sense of incompleteness. Like it's just not finished. I'm not sorry that I paid for it, but I feel like it's going to be another 3 or 4 months, maybe even as long as a year before it's a complete product. Like its 2020 predecessor. So what I've done is I've actually uninstalled it off my computer. It's not even installed. And I thought, well, I'll go back to 2020, which is great and not a problem. But then a part of me was like, hey, maybe it's time to revisit your old friend X-Plane 12. And that's exactly what I did. And I am really glad that I did because I've changed my setup a little bit. And as I've discussed in other videos, I've got this, let me turn this music off. Sorry about that. There we go. Sorry about that. So I've got this CLS 120, flightsim.com, force feedback yoke. And honestly, it paired along with any number of about half a dozen or more, probably way more actually, of study level general aircraft. It really makes a huge difference. I will say this as an actual pilot in a Cessna 172. I've always said X-Plane did the physics better. There's no reason and that I can think of, and I never say never, but there's no reason to be taking off in a 172 on the correct runway into the wind, where you should be applying like hard left pedal. It just shouldn't be a thing. And it is in Microsoft, and it has been. And one of the things that felt incomplete to me about Microsoft 2024 was that they didn't really address that. They didn't really, address that. They had that opportunity really and do it. Now, if you're flying bigger planes, which I know nothing about in terms of how feel, then that's a different thing. I don't know, but I've always said that the physics in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 was a little bit shy of what's actually going on, but the eye candy and the different places you could go with minimal effort, having really good graphics and scenery always made it worth it. So what I'm going to do today is I have got loaded up here. Let me get that going. What I have loaded up here is the Airfoils Lab C172 NG Digital. So they have two 172s. They've got a G1000 suite and they've got a analog suite, and by far, hands down, the best iterations of the 172 out there. I don't care which platform you're talking about. I've actually reviewed this plane before, and I've gotten a little more familiar with it since then. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a cold, dark startup. I'm going to kind of treat this almost like it's an actual flying day to some extent. 80, 75% of the checklist I'm going to go through, maybe a little bit less. And I'm going to try to start it. One thing about this plane is it can be hard to start. And that never happens on Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 or 24. The planes always start, at least the Asobo ones. That's not true with this one. It doesn't always start, and sometimes I have to cheat and just make it start. I'm going to try not to do that today. I'm going to take off, fly around a little bit, and then what I want to do is kind of go through some other general aviation aircraft, some smaller ones, and just kind of go through them. This is just for fun. It's not super. Hello, I see you there. A320, that's cool. I would love to hear what you think about the physics of these things. I can fly around and kind of see, what it feels like. And at the same time, I've got new gear. There's going to be some hiccups. The CLS 120 is great. However, I have found that sometimes if I don't do the right sequence, it kind of has a mind on its own, and it's a pretty strong device, and it will kind of require some rebooting, and that's fine. So we may have to reboot during this, so bear with me. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and, so here we are, we're on the outside and kind of look around. It's a good looking plane. And we'll also talk a little bit about why people don't like X-Plane, including myself. And we'll just say it right up front, the lackluster scenario and just the dull scenarios and stuff. I get that. But I think there's some, some of the pros mitigate some of the cons, and that's going to be true with all of the big platforms. So the first thing you notice in this plane in the airfoil lab thing, you can come over here. If I bring the mouse all the way over, you can see these circles on the left. And these are some different options. Like if I wanted to just start the plane, I could just go over to like here and it would just be ready to go. I'm not going to do that. It's cold and dark, and we'll kind of go through it. Like I said, I expect hopefully this to work. We will see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, and on a normal day, I've actually never, the airport that I fly out of, when the weather is bad or it's windy or whatever, their planes that I rented were always inside a hangar. I've never had to untie a plane before. But there were other people who, rented out spots at that airport, and they did. So, but I've never actually had to do this in real life. So all you're going to do is click on that, and you can see that's a tie down. I'll go ahead and get rid of that. You have to do one at a time. And the front intake cover, pitot cover, this other chalk, and come on. And it's persnickety, isn't it? Let me try to get it here. There we go. And there's one in the back. And we'll kind of just do a little bit of a walk around, and just looking for obvious stuff. And we'll just and this is what we would do in real life. We would kind of approach the plane, would kind of, after it was, either brought out of the hangar or untied, you'd approach the plane. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go inside the plane, and we'll kind of go through a little bit of the checklist. Yeah, they are hard to beat. Is it Mackie? Am I saying that right? MD dog. We'll try to power off stall. The hard time I have with doing power on and power off stalls in simulators is when you're going up and you're switching over to the rudders to maintain that control to horizon. I've never successfully been able to get it to do that in X-Plane or Microsoft. But anyway, we'll give it a shot. So I'm going to run through. I actually have a checklist pulled up here. Nope, not that one. I actually have a checklist pulled up, and I'm going to kind of go through it here. And it says, okay, so weather and density, altitude. Yep, we would check all that. Weight and balance. So in general, weight and balance, I've only ever really flown with just myself and a passenger. And I know that in the planes that I fly, if they're fully fueled, so full weight, with myself and a passenger up to 250 pounds, with no baggage, nothing in the back, that my weight and balance is good. I've calculated it so many times that I know I'm good on that. But if you have a passenger or passenger in the back, that you're not, if the weight is higher than what you're normally used to carrying, or if there's, maybe 2 passengers, things like that, you most definitely have to check your weight and balance. I mean, not to be a bummer, but that kills people. Fuel valve, all your paperwork and all that. Fuel valve, let's see here. So that's on. You want that pushed in, so that's good. Control lock, take the control lock off, and then you would turn the master on. And I'm going to do that. So I turn my master on, and I would, let me get rid of this. And I would extend my flaps and look for fuel gauges to be true. Now, this I actually kind of do. It's a combination of looking at what the fuel gauge currently says, but also looking at, when I'm doing my visual check of the gas of the tanks, then it's kind of a double-edged thing. So then I would do avionics. What you do is you're going to do bus 1, and all you're doing is you're listening for the fan to come on, turn it off. Bus 2, listening for the fan, turn it off. Pitot test. So what I do on that is I would turn that on, and right here under normal circumstances is where I would, and it says lights internal and external. So what I would do is, in real life, I would turn on all my lights, turn the pitot on, not do the master off, which I can bring this up here. So not do the master off yet. What I'm going to do there is do my walk. I would do my walk around outside of the plane. And see that the lights were working, actually touch the pitot tube to make sure it's warm. And then turn the master off, then do my fuel stuff. So I'll go ahead and do all that and master off. So now I'm going to go through, I'll do my passenger brief, circuit breakers, all that. Now I'm just going to go ahead and try to start the plane and see how we do. So turn the pitot off, and let's see here. So that's off. I'm going to set the throttle to 1/4. Mixture should be complete lean. Standby battery test. That green light goes on, and then flip it up. The standby battery is to ensure that the avionics have power. And so now that should come on, and I should check my bus voltage, and amps, and that is right here, and that all looks fine. So beacon on. This is where you'd have your window open and yell out clear prop. So clear prop. And master on. And now what I'm going to do is, it's the fuel pump, and I have that actually to a switch. And what I'm going to do, if you can see right here, it says this is the gallons per hour flow of the fuel flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the fuel pump on. I'm going to go forward with the mixture. I should see that gauge move, and I'm going to go back with the mixture and turn the fuel pump off. So fuel pump on, forward, and then back, and then off. So there we go. And let's see. Now I'm going to do the mag start. And what I'm going to do is, as I'm turning it on, I've got my hand on the mixture, and let's see what happens. Brakes. Now it caught all the way forward with your mixture, and then you want about 10,000 or 1,000 rather, RPMs, not 10,000. And hey, it started. And this plane will sometimes not start. It'll flood. It'll do all kind of stuff. You have to wait. You have to do things to help it, get prepared. It doesn't, but you can't assume that it's going to start. And the more you screw it up, the longer it takes. And if you get frustrated with that, you just come over here, hit this, and then just come over and you can bypass all that stuff. So now what I'm going to do is turn the avionics on. And click that. You should always check weight and balance for every flight. Safety first is always up front. Yeah, that's true. But in a way, I'm not saying you're not checking it. It's just that unless there's been some kind of modification to the plane, you're doing it. You're just not necessarily pulling out pen and paper. It's a well-balanced plane. And if it's just you and you're not invading that back seat, honestly, I feel like you're going to be on good ground. But you have to have at least done it once. And if you don't know the limits, then yeah, you definitely need to do it. All right, so that's the other G1000, the MFD. And I'm going to try to get out of here. And I may end up kind of roaming around, but we will see. And of course, I don't have my Navigraph pulled up. Let me pull that up. That may be helpful. Sometimes it doesn't like to connect. Nope. It did. It connected. I've got this basically set for no wind right now, so I'm just going to go to the closest runway. So we will kind of move forward. This force feedback yoke is on my desk, and it makes the whole desk shake at lower RPMs where the vibrations are much more coarse. And it's interesting. The other thing that's kind of interesting with this versus Microsoft is I'm having a hard time getting my rudder pedals dialed in. They're a little too sensitive, but that's okay. Okay, here we go. Like I said, I've got the wind is set for basically calm. It doesn't matter which way we go. And we'll just kind of fly around a little bit, and I'll try to pull off a landing or something. And once I get up in the air, we'll discuss some stuff, and then I'll probably swap out some planes. All right. All right. Heels on the ground. Let's see if I can keep this on the runway. Like I said, very, very sensitive pedals. Rotate. And I'm getting a fair amount of stutters. But it's hard for my system because I'm doing the OBS and streaming live all from the same thing. And so I'm asking a lot. And I've got some different views programmed in. And this is some of the scenery. I mean, that doesn't look bad. So that's an orthograph. I used Ortho for XP. I put this one together. It's also got some Sim Heaven stuff. And like I said, that's a big complaint is the graphics. And that's a legit complaint. So first off, right off the bat, just the whole taking off, the way the rudder reacted to picking up speed, that's all very much more realistic. Let me put this down here. And right now, I'm not quite trimmed in. So pitch power, trim. And when I do my trim, I don't know if you can see it. But the yoke actually comes back. I've done a review on this yoke, and I will bring this yoke up probably many more times in future videos. It's not sponsored. I paid for this, but it's just a great yoke. And this is the close, I will say, if you're a student pilot, 100% if you're a student pilot and you're flying a Cessna at your school or training, and you're trying to put together a flight simulator, unequivocally, X-Plane 12, Flight Sim, CLS, either 60 or 120. I say that over some of the other force feedback yokes because it's just much more affordable. And a good study level aircraft like this, Airfoil Labs, C172 NG digital, they have an analog too. And you're going to get as close of a feel in terms of muscle memory and things like that as you would with anything else. Whether it's a stock X-Plane 12, any of the Microsoft planes that are general aviation. And if I jump out of the plane, I mean, that's not bad scenery. That is not bad scenery at all. And the water looks good, so and this is Ortho for XP that I use to prepare these plates. And the thing about that is the current one that's in beta, I think it's 1.4, don't quote me on that, takes into account for the new X-Plane the way it handles water. So there you go. I think that looks great. I mean, I had to work to get that, but you know, it's not bad. And honestly, this is where you're going to spend most of your time anyway. If you're using this as a training device, then you're going to be dealing with all this kind of stuff. And so but not bad. And when I change pitch, I can feel it. It feels appropriate. And we will kind of turn around. And I'm up high. And you can see the airport, but let's see what happens. I think I got enough space to get out. Now, so I'm pushing this down with my left hand. If I let go, it's going to come up. Got my throttle all the way back. I'm actually going to try to slip this a little bit. Lose some altitude. Just for time's sake. And we'll try to bring this in. Now this plane, here's where I'm going to say it's a little bit different than an actual Cessna. And that is, this plane lands hard. It lands really hard. So you have to fly it all the way to the runway. And I'm way fast. I would normally not do this. I would normally be much slower. I would enter the pattern at the normal angle. But I just wanted to... Now when I add flaps, it immediately pushes against me. This is a way fast landing. This would totally be a go around, but like I said. Okay. So I'll get it off the runway. And we'll stop here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change planes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to load up. Let's see here. We'll do this diamond. And we'll start on the runway this time. And so now it's going to kind of go through its thing and start up here. And I'm not going to go through all the cold dark startups on this. You can kind of rewind and see. But this is another really good airplane coupled with the CLS 120. Now I do have to change some profiles over here. So let's see. All right. And I just need to make sure of a couple things. That's good. And that looks pretty good. I like to pull out the... Now, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Air Manager. But I also... X-Plane has, not really Air Manager, but I can pop out the G1000 with the bezel, and that's what I'm doing today. And I just got to change a couple things here. Here we go. Load. What I'm doing now is I am changing my profile on the force feedback yoke. I haven't put a sensitivity curve on these yet on the rudder pedals, and I just need to. And I don't know my takeoff speeds or any of that. here's just some outside view. It's a nice plane, gorgeous plane. Again, you can see the orthograph, ortho for XP. I've also tried auto ortho and map enhancement. And I haven't made up my mind on which one I'm going to go with, because the problem with ortho for XP is you chew up hard drive space if you use any kind of resolution at all. And so that's a problem. So here's the point of all of this, just to kind of, for those who maybe have come in a little bit later. And that is very simply, I just feel like Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 was just not doing it for me. I love Osobo. They're a great company. And I'm not knocking on them, but I just feel like it's incomplete. And so I thought this would be a good idea. I was originally going to go back to 2020, but then a part of me was like, hey, let's dust off X-Plane and see what we can do to make it look a little more inspiring. And that's what I've done. So I've downloaded an ortho. I had already purchased some Orbix stuff that covers it's patchy. It's very patchy, like Great Britain, California, Washington, Oregon, Florida. Not a lot, just not a lot. And then I made some stuff for myself, and I've tried, like I said, auto ortho and map enhancement, which is basically just maybe a slightly more convenient method than auto ortho, but it's the same idea. It just kind of quickly downloads the ortho that you're going to be using, and you're not necessarily keeping that stuff on your disk. I can pull up here in just a little bit, possibly my organizer for X-Plane, and you can see I don't have a lot of orthos, and it's like 2 terabytes of data. It's crazy. But this is not bad. This is not bad. And this plane is great. It's well modeled. It's got the enhanced G1000s. This is Aerobask is the company, and they make wonderful products. None of this stuff is sponsored, but wonderful, wonderful products. And this is just a great plane. And again, we'll kind of jump out here. And that's not bad. That is not bad in terms of graphics and compared to Microsoft. Now the downside is Microsoft, anywhere on the planet, boom, good graphics, you're good to go. And I get that. But like I said, 2024 just feels incomplete to me. And I don't know. I thought this was a good opportunity to revisit X-Plane. And this is the first, I did this about 5 days ago, and I've been getting it all set up. Peripheral profiles, joystick profiles, all that. And which, by the way, I love the way X-Plane does its hardware profiles. I like the way 2024 does its profiles. I hate what 2020 does. But what did they release? Is it May Day, May 7 Day? What did they release? I'm also looking at some of the Torque Sim stuff, but it starts getting pricey. These study level smaller GA aircraft, anywhere from $40 to $70. But I feel like, if you're a student, this is the setup. Maybe not this plane specifically. Obviously, this is a twin, and unless you're a student that's learning how to fly a twin, getting a rating. The Flying Scotsman, hello. Glad you stopped by. Just talking about some X-Plane stuff. Outside the plane again. Now some of this vegetation is from Sim Heaven. And I was having trouble with some of the global forest stuff. Every time I do it, it won't load. I'm not sure what that's about. I'm sure I'm screwing something up. But this is with SimHeaven, and SimHeaven uses the like tables where it determines, oh, so this plane will catch on fire. It will catch on fire. And that is because I have been too high throttle, like max throttle. So I could either try to emergency land this, or I will use this as an opportunity to bail and get a different plane. So let's get a different plane. Okay. We did the Airfoil Labs, the digital. Their analog is beautiful. It's the same thing, but it's just beautiful. We can try. I think I have the Epic Victory set up. Let's try that. And we may just try, I'm going to get a little, I'm going to pick Newark, Liberty. Yikes. We'll see what happens. This is all recently installed, and it may work, it may not. We'll see. But great plane. I thought about it. I thought about doing like an emergency landing. But to do another plane. The Diamond DA20 SV. That's cool. I'll take a look at that because I know. No, I'm thinking Torque Sim. They have a big of the SR stuff. Now, is that 737 going to be for X-Plane? Because Airfoil Labs does have at least one Microsoft plane. And I was all excited about it when they released it for 2020, but it ended up being to be honest with you, a little bit of disappointment because they're still utilizing Microsoft Physics, and it's just lacking. So we'll see. Reading new scenery files. Let's see. These orthos for the bigger cities, New York, etc. And this is Newark, so this will be a little bit of a good X-Plane 12. That will be sweet. I'm this year I have said is going to be the year that I at least start looking at some of the larger planes. I don't know if it's going to be like the 737s or not. It may just be some of like the Citations and bigger jets, Embraer Airs, things like that. I'm a little intimidated, to be honest with you. It's that stuff looks crazy complicated. And then the other layer to that is I'm on Pilot Edge, which is great for VFR stuff. That sim doesn't do VFR stuff justice the way Pilot Sim does. But I need to get on that sim. I need to do it. All right. This looks like it's making some progress. And this is the downside to some of the ortho stuff. Oh, let's see. The bar is moving. And where the hell am I? All right, it's fussing at me. Let's see if I can do this here. Yeah, that's good. I don't think I can do this. Hold on. Let's try this. I don't think it'll take as long this time because it's already done that. Except now it's not moving. There we go. Yeah, I used X-Plane for a while and then got away from it and came back to it and got away from it, came back to it and got away from it. I've seen some recently posted XP72 and Blue Games did a great interview with them. Check out their video. Let's see here. So I just need to make sure this is all. All right, that looks good. And we'll. And again, super sensitive rudder. This is a cool plane in that it's a small plane. Here we go with being off track. Ah, come on. No. Ah. Very sensitive rudder, but no, that's still pilot error. Still pilot error. There we go. Okay. So this is another part of the world where I have done some orthographs and super stuttery here. But I mean, the water looks great, and the new Ortho for XP has settings where you preserve the water lines, which is great. And I mean, and again, coupled with Sim Heaven, it's really nice. I'm gonna, just for giggles, and this is annoying. It's got this like glare, and there's a way to get rid of it, and for the life of me, I cannot think of how to get rid of it. I thought there was a checkbox to, basically it just removes the windshield. There we go. Now the downside to this is that's too clear. There needs to be something, but that glare is no bueno for sure. But I like the lights. It's not as colorful as Microsoft, but I can tell you from having done night flights in an actual aircraft, they are more this color. It is a little more kind of a warmer temperature. But, I mean, it feels nice. It feels real nice. That's too clear, though, isn't it? There's the city. Let's go check it out. I loaded. I purchased prepared a long time ago. I made it about a day. I had to stop. Swanson. I have to check that out. What sucks is, I don't know for you Flying Scotsman, if so there's a plug-in. Let's see if it's even enabled. It is Shade X, which is a great plug-in, and now it's gone. It's just gone. Aerosoft or whoever developed it said, nope, not anymore. And that makes absolutely no sense to me at all. And then I can kind of make it more daylight. So again, not bad. Not bad at all. And I guarantee you that the physics of flying this is more accurate, especially coupled with the force feedback yoke. 100% that that's true. This also has the enhanced G1000 stuff. Now, we'll say that Microsoft partnering up with Work in Progress, I think that's who it was, with all their avionics stuff. That was a great move. And I hope that something like that comes to X-Plane. And I'm in no way am I done with Microsoft. I'm not. I still have 2020 loaded. I just took 2020. I took 24 off. I'm going to give it a few months. Let it kind of percolate a little bit and see if it's not going to, they've got a lot of stuff. There's stuff that's not even just about stuff not working. Oh, working title. Yeah, you're right. It's not even about, thanks for that. It's not even about, stuff not working right. It's some stuff is just not available. And again, I was happy to pay for it. I'm happy to support it. I think the folks at Asobo are, I think they are fans, and I think they get involved with the community. And if you've ever been to a Flight Sim Expo, it's just very cool. They're approachable. I got to interview Jorg once, and that was cool. I was inspired enough by Microsoft Flight Simulator to get my private pilot. And so I've no hate, but gosh, this is pretty cool too. And that's kind of weird looking. And it's right now it's not smooth again because I'm just asking this computer to do way too much stuff. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think summertime to Christmas, something like that. And if you recall, I mean, they didn't roll out all the features for 2020, but I felt like 2020 was a more complete rollout. So, that's just what I think. All right, let's try to switch it up. Okay. Where you at? So this is a cool plane. The Phenom 300, and let's do London Heathrow. And I'm going to start on the runway. Let's see how long it takes. So this is a Orbix True Earth orthographic. This is not one that I did, but it is combined with SimHeaven. And so here again is you got to weigh it. You got to weigh it. How important are the graphics to you? And they are important. There's nobody that's going to say graphics aren't important to me. But in balance compared to flight physics and all that. And the answer is you don't have to answer because you can have both. You can do both. I can go back and forth. If I just want to jump in something real quick and go to a part of the world that I don't have an orthograph for, I don't feel like putting one together because I may never go there again. Then, Microsoft 2020 and 2024 is just fine. You just jump in and go. And that's great. But if you want to spend a little time and you want the modeling to be more accurate, then I'd say X-Plane for sure. And so anyway, still XCF for airliners. I can't say I've never taken an airliner up. I have. It's weird to me because the smaller windows, the smaller views, the miles and miles of panels and buttons and all that kind of stuff. And I understand the functions or overall what needs to happen, but it just seems like a lot. And I would think in that setup at 30,000 feet, 20,000 feet, 30,000 feet or higher, that if it's all about, at that point, it's about how well the avionics do. It's about how accurate the systems are, more so than the scenery and maybe even the physics. And scenery and physics become more and more important as you're changing altitude, especially as you're descending. But if you're in an airliner, you're not flying at 500 feet and looking at the different trees and things like that. You're higher than that. So then that would be where you as a consumer could tell me which one has the better systems, X-Plane or Microsoft. I suspect right now it's Microsoft, but I think X-Plane is hearing this, and so I know that they're calling it the enhanced G1000 stuff. So let's see what I got here. I have to make sure that I have this all set up, and I think I do. So this real quick, I want to program a view, which is super easy on X-Plane. Control 5, and then Control 4, and then Control 6, and then that's forward, left, and right. And then what I like to do is I like to get out of the plane and do this circle, Shift F4, and I like to put it right around here, and then I do Control 2. So now I can go left, right, middle, outside. I also have a Tobii eye tracker, which I had all dialed in for Microsoft. I don't have it dialed in here. Brake off. Full throttle. And again, we're Heathrow. I'll try to stay on the... It's just so sensitive. But I haven't put any velocity curves in yet. All right, I did that all right. Gear up. That's pretty. And that scenery is pretty. I mean, it's usable. That's usable. Now, this is True Earth, Great Britain, that Orbix has published. I don't know if they're also the developer or not, but that's where this came from. And I'm not trying to get up that high. I'm just gonna, and I'm like pushing against this yoke, and I cannot say that enough. I'm just kind of going in multiple different directions here, but I cannot say it enough that my whole attitude about all this stuff has just changed completely now that I've moved from a passive yoke. And I understand that they are not free, but I got to be honest. If I was thinking about sinking $2,000 into a 5090, I would rather do $1,000 for a 5080, and then the rest of that would buy one of these CLS 60s. And I'm not trying to be a shill for the company. I paid for this. High speed. Oh, let's try not to blow up. High speed. Sky looks nice. I mean, that looks pretty. I have not popped out. So again, what I like to do is they do their pop out a little bit differently. This is another Aerobask work, and so you pop the bezel out just a little bit, and they give you the option to pop it out without a bezel. So if you're using like Real Sim Gear or Flight Sim Builder, then you can do that. And so I also got a Octavi. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see it right here. Where you at? Rear. Right there. And I've been having fun with that. I think it's a little on the pricey side. I'm not going to do a review of it. There's tons of them out there. The Octavi It's got like a little, like a knobster looking thing, and you can kind of, it's like physical button shortcuts to different things. Like, for example, if you're looking at my PFD, all I got to do is hit that, and then that pops up. If I want to do it for the MFD, I can do that. So that's cool. And look that way. And that's that. I mean, that looks nice. That looks real nice. And it certainly looks, it suffices. I'll just say it like that. It suffices. And I haven't spent a lot of time. Oh, that's not what you want. Let me kind of level out here. I haven't spent a lot of time on scenery other than downloading some things, and the big ones again are Orbix True Earth, Ortho for XP, which you download each plate on your own and install it. It's easy to do. It's a little time consuming, and it eats up tons of space. Each space with a resolution of 17 and a little bit higher resolution around the airports. It's about 8 to 10 gigs per panel, and it doesn't take anything. A panel is not very big. Our tile is not very big. And like I said, I have a 4 terabyte drive with only X-Plane stuff on it. I'm already halfway full, and I have very few ortho tiles. Then there's Auto Ortho, which in theory you just kind of downloads this stuff as you go. It doesn't do Google Maps, I don't believe. I think Bing is the big one that uses. Don't quote me on that. And then the other one would be Map Enhancement. And it's kind of an auto ortho thing, except you can do Google as a source for maps. The install on that was a little bit easier, and I've used it, and it's all right. But this is Orbix True Earth, and I've basically Great Britain is covered with this. But that's not bad. Now, those buildings could be, I'm not sure, honestly, if that's Orbix or if that is SimHeaven. And I don't know my way around England, so, you know. And as I adjust the trim with this yoke, it moves forward and backwards on its own. If I were to start to descend and apply flaps, normally the plane will want to nose up, and you can feel that. It pushes against you. You have to fight against the force of the yoke, which is how it is in an actual aircraft. So again, I'm probably gonna stick with X-Plane for a little bit. I just want to work on some of the scenery stuff, and I want to learn these planes. I've got about 5 planes on my favorites list right now, and I want to try to learn how to do the cold dark start on each of them. That's where it gets kind of cool. And these are, again, study level planes, and they seem to be well designed and well put together. and they feel kind of nice. I'll show you guys. So if you're using X-Plane, and I don't know if you are or not, but if you're using X-Plane, what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to quit X-Plane here just for a second. And then what I'm going to do is put up X Organizer. It's going to give me an error, maybe. Nope. So here's X Organizer. I highly recommend it. If you're using X-Plane 12, you need this program. This is version 3.4 for XP12. As you may or may not know, so in X-Plane, if you're using X-Plane and you install different sceneries and cities and airports and all that, they literally just stack up on top of each other. And they have to be stacked in the right order. Otherwise, something will be covered up. And just think about manipulating things on your desktop, how one window may cover up something and you don't want that to happen. So you have to make the focus to where the other one comes up. And so, but this is what this does is normally you would go in, open up the file with the Notepad app or something, and you literally cut and paste and move stuff around. And these lists can be long depending on what you have installed. However, this makes it a little bit easier. And you can see it literally, this is the bottom, mesh, all the way up to right now, airports. And so this is basically everything that I have that's installed. Now, some of this is installed by X-Plane itself, and some of this I installed. So like X-Plane landmarks, that's from X-Plane. Here's from SimHeaven, X-World stuff. So this is Europe and America. And this does things like it adds forests and scenery, enhances scenery. It does like buildings and things, and it's nice. It's real nice, and it's free. And it's a good program, and it works for X-Plane 12, and it just adds a little bit to the basic scenery. Down here, all my ortho photos, or orthographs, or plates, or tiles, or whatever you want to call it, and you can see these are some of the ones I've done. And this is what they look like. Each tile has its own file and a numbering system. And when we were flying around earlier, I live in Kansas. This is where we were. 4 plates for that. Well, just that alone, that's 10, 20, or like more like 9, 30 something gigabytes of hard drive space. And so it's just a lot. In fact, if I come over here, let's see, where are you at? Scenery coverage. And if I click on all this stuff, actually, I don't need that. I just need these. So each yellow square is an ortho plate. I made the ones around Kansas City and New York and New Jersey, Florida, and this whole basically the West Coast. That's Washington, Oregon, North and South California, and Florida. That's Orbix True Earth, and then Great Britain, which comes in a central, south, and north. And all of that together, plus the X-Plane stuff that comes with X-Plane. And I believe, gosh, now I don't remember if I have everything installed or just North America. But whatever it is, those little squares, that's almost 2 terabytes of hard drive space. And I hardly have anything covered up. So that's why programs like Auto Ortho and map enhancement for X-Plane, because he also has one for Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's why these programs are sought after, because I mean, all I'd have to do is, I mean, you see what double that would be. It would be hardly anything extra compared to everything. And I would be I would have a 4 terabyte drive completely filled up. And what I don't know is all my drives are solid state drives. They're all solid state drives. In fact, they're all NVMe's or whatever. They're not the 2.5-inch drives connected by a cable. They're hard into the bus. And, you know, that's expensive. It adds up. But you don't need to do that. I had a 1 terabyte drive, and it basically had some of this, but it couldn't take all of it. And then you couple in auto ortho and map enhancement, and then you'd be fine. So start X-Plane again, and I think do another flight. So I'm hoping, in like I said, there was X-Plane did a great presentation at Flight Sim Expo last year, and they did like a 1 or 2 hour interview with XP72 and Blue Games. I think it's the future of X-Plane. Look it up on YouTube. It's a great interview, and they don't hold back. Those guys don't hold back. They asked a lot about graphics and a lot about the plans. And there was some good answers. They weren't all satisfying answers, but they were good answers. Let's see. I think we'll do one more. I'll show you guys this 172 analog, and we'll do back something that we've already flown out of just because it'll load faster. Well, I guess we could do downtown Mobile. We'll try that. Oh, I have not. We'll do it. We'll just do it. It's asking about joystick configurations and all that, but because of the profiles and the digital 172 is so close to the analog, I'm willing to bet that profile will work. And I'll show you how that's done, and it's kind of neat. I am glad that 2024 upped their game on how to do profiles. I'm not sure which one I prefer. I think I still prefer X-Planes by a little bit, but 2024's implementation of that is way better than 2020. For sure, what I don't like is the 2020 version. So this will, again, it's a new. So here's the thing. If you are opening up an area and you've not opened it up with those orthographs in a while, it takes longer to load. So if I were to turn that orthograph off and go back to X-Plane scenery, it would take a long time to load. But then the next time it loaded, it would do it much more quickly. And the opposite is true. So if I turn that off, reinstalled, all right. So it starts out with this screen, and this is until you turn it off. And I haven't picked a color thing for it, so that's going to kind of be weird. But what I'm going to do, and it's already running. Let's see here. I'm going to use and let's see if that transferred over. So that, yep. Don't stop. Okay. We'll just take this up. So this is on the Gulf Coast. Let's see what happens. I have not. The only plane I've set any kind of sensitivity for is this plane, but the digital version. Oh, man. It is hard holding this in the middle. All right, there we go. And if I wanted to, actually, I could load up an air manager panel. And so now, I don't know if you can see, but now I have an air manager panel and I can tell what's going on. And I don't have any of the buttons programmed for this one, so we'll have to kind of bear with me. Control 5. Control 4. Control 6. Yikes. There we go. And then we'll get an outside view here. And this is another ortho panel. I am from this area, and I can tell you that this is kind of an industrial spot, so this is not going to be pretty looking to begin with. I think it's missing a lot of vegetation, though. I feel like this is a little bit sparse for this part of the country. And this is near Mobile Bay, which opens into the Gulf Coast. And we can do... Let's try this. So that's nice. And so one thing I think X-Plane does better than Microsoft is like cars and stuff on the road. I think it's a little more accurate with that than Microsoft is. When I come to this part of on Microsoft, that bridge where you see all the lights goes under the water, and you see the cars actually disappearing under the water, but you see their headlights. It does look like a car driving underwater, so I guess that's okay. And this would be in the morning, and basically kind of heading towards the east and out over the bay, and that water looks nice. So that doesn't look bad. What would be a good place in Florida to go to? I try out the Orbix Florida stuff. I don't know that I've ever loaded it. Could try Miami. Let's try Miami. Change location. I'll try that. Customize on the start new flight. Okay, so I don't know that I've ever actually loaded one of these before. This is an ortho by Orbix for Florida, and I don't think I've loaded it, so this may take a little bit. So anyway, we'll do this flight and kind of see where it takes us in this plane. Let me set up let me change something here. Just for a second while that's loading up, I'm going to come over to bottom left. That program that you see there is the program used to set up and change the force feedback throttle rather. And do this. Properties. And I'm already losing control because I'm trying to do too much. This is Florida, and I'll change it to daylight here in just a second. I just want to get off the ground. But what I want to do is show you guys Air Manager, what it looks like with the panel that I'm looking at that's just below my main monitor. Oh, that's plenty to get off the ground. We'll make it a little more. So this is Miami. And so this is Orbic. So this is a professionally done. All this stuff, the airport, all this stuff should be. I mean, this is more pro level stuff than anything that I can do. What I was trying to show you earlier was this guy here. So this is on the bottom screen of I have 4 screens. My main screen, a screen that I use for G1000, which is right in front of me, on top of the throttle. I mean, on top of the yoke. And then I have 2 other screens that I use mostly for streaming. But this is what I see when I look just below. And so that's this monitor here. So that's my main monitor. This is a monitor that I use for other programs like Navigraph, whatever other little things that are related to flight. And then up top is my OBS screen so I can see what's going on there. And this is Miami. This looks nice. Just jump out of the plane for a second. That's not bad. Never been there, so I can't say that this is accurate or not accurate. I'm sure it is less accurate than Microsoft, but and this would be a night flight. Love this is a good amount of reflection in the glare in the windshield, but I think the other one was just way too much. And there's no way to get rid of that if you were watching that from before. And you can also pull it to where it's just kind of setting down. This is the golden hour. But this is pretty looking. This is definitely, this is well modeled. The first plane I ever flew in was a analog 172. It had different avionics though. It didn't have this. It didn't have a 530. I don't think. But this is just very well modeled. I don't recall the cowl vibrating that much. So this is more of a nighttime thing, sun setting in the west. So in any case, we can try, well, there's the sun. And that is due west. And there's the airport. I'll try to land. See what I can do. I know I'm kind of up a little bit higher than normally would be. I'm going to slip it a little bit just to kind of lose some altitude. I just gave it some flaps, and when I did, it really pushed against me, and I know I'm going too fast for flaps, but and you can see by the lights that I'm too high. I've got 4 white lights. And I'm off angle. This is not going to be a good landing. Let's see here. Okay. I'm going to add a little throttle to that. There we go. One thing you can do on your landings is right before you land, add about 50 RPMs back. And that will slow your descent, but not stop it. And it may smooth out your landing. Let's see here. I'm trying to patiently wait for my, yeah, that being shipped from overseas thing. That takes a while. So you went with the 120, so that's cool. And I kind of went back and forth about the 60 or the 120. And I honestly think I probably could have, the 60 probably would have been fine. But what I ended up doing was I had some gear. It was all sim related gear. And when I sold it, it was enough to just flat out get the 120. And that's why I did it. If that hadn't been the case, I may have gone with the 60. I haven't dialed this into more than the 60 can do, but I'll have it if I need it. We shall see how that goes. Virpil makes some pretty good stuff. Virpil is a big, I consider Virpil and Windwing to be kind of similar, heavy duty metal stuff. And that's awesome. Heavy duty metal stuff. And I'm going to shut down this yoke. And I've got a set of the Windwing pedals. I don't have them on a setup yet. I still use my Thrustmaster pendulum pedals, which are just, they're the best. They are the best. But I do like the way Windwing and Virpil just make things with a lot of metal, and I think that's really cool. I'm glad you liked the video. There's some good ones out there on that. I hope it becomes a ubiquitous piece of gear. I think the price point is going in the right direction. I think there needs to be more force feedback. And if you can sit down on a force feedback rig that's dialed in, and you'll understand what you're missing. Having said that, that doesn't mean that if you don't have one, there's no reason to do it. There's some good yokes out there that are passive. One of the things I sold was my Honeycomb Alpha. I got a lot of mileage out of that thing. It was great. I still use my Honeycomb Bravo, which is the GOAT of sim throttles only because of its versatility. I know it's very plasticky, but I've had this thing for almost 4 years now. I bought it right at the beginning of the pandemic, and it has lasted, and it's got tons of hours on it, and it's so versatile. And there's companies that make, it's mostly guys with 3D printers, but they're making all these cool things to attach to it. So if you want to do an airliner or something else, you can make it look pretty good. It's easy to install, and it's awesome. I think it's the best one ever. Virpil is coming out with a new yoke, and I'm curious. I think they're at the Kickstarter phase, but I'm curious what that's going to be like. I bet as far as passive yokes go, I bet it's going to be pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, the prices should come down. I hope they do, because I've got just 15 feet over there. I've got an old Thrustmaster. Here, hold on just a second. I've got this thing. This is a Thrustmaster T150. When I bought it, it was, sorry about that. When I bought it, it came with some cheap pedals, and I want to say it was 2 something. And now you can barely give these things away. Force feedback. I don't know if they even make racing wheels anymore that aren't force feedback. You can buy force feedback wheels for like $150. And granted, it's only a couple of Newton meters, and granted, it's only a single axis. So double it, 150, $300 for a double axis thing. It's ridiculous. And I feel like that there's got to be millions of flight simmers out there. I mean, minimally hundreds and hundreds of thousands. And surely that's big enough to where somebody could do some kind of, cheap, on the cheap, couple of Newton meters, maybe, 4 or 5 on the pitch, and, a couple on the roll. But it shouldn't be that difficult. I think engineering is at a place where they could do that, and I think it would sell, and just make it to where it does that. This CLS yoke, this flight sim yoke, it has a couple of buttons on it. It's got, let's see, 1, 2, 3 buttons, a paddle switch, and a hat switch. That's it. It's not a lot. This thing has all of these. It's got buttons. It also has, it's not really a hat, but it's similar. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's got more buttons than the CLS yoke does. So, anyway, mini rant. Sorry about that. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and log off. I hope you guys had fun. I just wanted to get out and fly in some of this gear. I'm still getting the X-Plane setup dialed in, because I haven't used it in so long. Honestly, really, even since 12 came out, I've only used it like maybe a couple hours up until this week. And then I've used it a lot. So my goal is to get reacquainted with it to the level that I am with Microsoft Flight Sim, and really try to get some stuff dialed in and get my controllers dialed in and do some more flights and do some cold dark startups and things like that. Just focus on the procedure part of it and kind of go from there. In any case, I appreciate you guys sticking around. Thanks for the comments. Patches, good seeing you again. You know, Flaccalo, good luck with the Virpil stuff. I think you'll like it. I think they're a good company. And May 7 Day, I'm looking forward to the releases that you spoke of. So anyway, you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you.